Welcome to part 2 of our virtual orientation. We're going to talk about what our service looks like in schools. Before we jump into that, just a quick history of City Year. We were founded in Boston in 1988, so we've been around over 30 years. Right now, City Year is just one program under the AmeriCorps umbrella, and there are other programs as well, but AmeriCorps was actually founded after City Year to support the work that we were already doing in Boston, and it's grown since then. Our service originally started as physical service, working in parks, community centers, and sometimes in schools. But we shifted in around 2010 to 2012 to in-school service, which Brittany Ann will talk about later. But it is important to remember that our work started as a physical service program, and we've shifted into the academic space more recently.
So here's some pretty relevant statistics for Denver Public Schools, otherwise known as DPS, where you will be serving. The important thing to note here is that you will be serving alongside 58, so a total of 59 core members will be serving here in Denver. And another thing that really stands out is that at the very bottom, you'll notice the graduation rate in DPS is 65%. And so a part of your journey and the reason you are coming to serve in Denver is to really help those 35% of students that aren't graduating get on track to graduate.
So we will be serving in 9 schools this upcoming school year. You'll see 2 elementary, 4 middle school, and 3 high schools. They are separated into 3 regions. So you'll see 3 up in the Northwest, 3 in the Southwest, and 3 in the East. Following this orientation, you're going to fill out a survey, and we will be placing you in a region ahead of time in the hopes that this will support with your housing. So if you've already secured housing, you'll be able to let us know and advocate for a certain region if you want that we can take your housing into account. And then if you haven't, we're hoping that we can give you that region placement by June 5th. That way you can look for housing in proximity to the schools that you'll be serving in. So this is zoomed out a little from the map that I just showed you, and that's because I wanted to highlight sort of what's around Denver. I think a lot of people are surprised. They think Denver is right in the mountains, but the mountains are actually over here on the left. So Denver is the queen city of the plains. So if you want to get to the mountains, you will have to drive a little bit. Another thing that's surprising here is that the airport is up here in the far northeast. So if you fly in instead of driving, it's roughly 45 or so minutes from the city. So just plan in advance for that. You will see that Highline Academy is over by the airport. So it is a little bit farther out than some of our schools. I think I'll start there talking about our East region schools, which is Highline, Hill, and GW. Predominantly our schools in the East are probably our most diverse region. Our students are white, Black, and we also have a large refugee population here in Denver, so our students may speak any number of languages. And Denver's Black population is predominantly in the far northeast over here. I'll jump over to the Northwest now, which is Lake, Skinner, and North. This region is predominantly Hispanic and Latinx, but it has seen a lot of gentrification. So we do serve some white students up there. And then in the Southwest, 2 of our schools are actually located on the same campus. So it's really hard to see that there's 3 schools down there. But we have Johnson, Compass, and Lincoln. Compass is in the Lincoln campus. And those 3 schools are predominantly, again, Hispanic and Latinx, but we do have a large Vietnamese population in Denver, and some students may also speak Tagalog, be Filipino. So you'll see some Asian student populations in the Southwest. It's also important to note that the Southwest and the Northwest, a lot of these schools are all centered around Federal Boulevard. So if you will be taking public transportation and you're looking for housing, that's something to think about, is that Federal Boulevard makes it pretty easy to commute either direction that way. So something to consider. Also, as far as the east, you'll see Aurora over here, and Aurora is a suburb of Denver, but if you are placed in the East region and want to look for housing there, that's definitely a viable option. Aurora is sometimes a little bit cheaper than Denver, so that is something to consider.
So now we're just going to look at an overview of WSWIC, which is the acronym for Whole School, Whole Child. So this graphic sort of gives you a picture of the holistic approach that we take with students in schools. We support our students as individuals. We work with them one-on-one. We get to know their leadership style, and we provide them with the supports that they need to access their school content and develop as leaders. We also engage with families. Families are a huge part of what we do. We engage with them through positive phone calls. We partake in parent-teacher conferences, and we also invite families to events that we plan. So one of the biggest things that we do is throw whole school and also more intimate events for students. And as we go a little further down, you'll see school-wide climate is a huge thing that we work to be a part of and create energy around. So something that you might do is maybe you'll do a bulletin board for Black History Month, or you may
plan a Pi
Day event. It's so much
March
fun.
14th.
Yeah, we
so
do.
Maybe you have a math event.
Yeah, and all different types of events. We also have our City Year Heroes event that takes place at the end of semester 1 and semester 2, where we're able to recognize individual students for their growth and invite their families to a really nice formal dinner that we typically hold at the school. So there are many different things that we do to support school climate. We also focus heavily on data, because we are a data-driven organization, and we use measures to show that our students have grown. So something that you might see when you get here is the HSA, which is the Holistic Student Assessment, or the SMI, which is Scholastic Math Inventory, that we have our students take at the start of year and at the end of year to demonstrate growth. Full faculty integration is also a huge part of what we do. We work so closely with partner teachers and school staff to provide. We know it takes a village, and that a lot of people are involved in our students' success, and it can't just be us, and that the more we can integrate ourselves into the school climate and with the school staff, the better. We might plan with our partner teachers. We might attend professional development opportunities. There are many different ways that we get integrated into the school staff. And then the last thing you'll see here is that we are full-time service leaders, and we will be supporting students before, during, and after school. So, before school, we greet our students in the morning. We welcome them with energy and excitement to get them prepared for the day. We support them in class throughout the whole day. But once the teachers leave the building, we're still there, and we're doing things like running after-school programs. So you may host a space for students if they're struggling with school, like a tutoring space, or you may get creative and be able to lead an after-school club. And those are the opportunities that we really use to cater to our students' strengths, and we create creative spaces for them to be able to express themselves, not academically. And so that's kind of just an overall picture of what the whole school, whole child model looks like.
So those clubs can be totally geared towards the strengths of your team. They can be sports, they can be science experiments, arts and crafts, whatever your team is prepared to offer, you can get your students involved in that way. And if your school has sports and you can support, that's something you'll work out with your impact manager, but it is a question we get a lot, and yes, you can help coach if that opportunity is available. So you can see some sample schedules on the schools page of the Confirmed Core website. We should have that for every school. I am working on updating that list of schools, but the map is updated with the schools that we just talked about. You can also go in the Slack group and see the sample schedules there and watch YouTube videos on the City Year channel as well. But it's just important to note that everybody's schedule will be different. It's going to vary school to school, and it will be different from your teammates because you're supporting different classes. So no one's schedule will be exactly the same, but in general, you'll start somewhere between 7 and 7:30 a.m. and end somewhere between 5 to 5:30 p.m. And during the day, you'll see here that coursework and tutoring is the bulk of what we're doing and working on with our students, is supporting them in literacy and math. And then you'll have about 20% working with behavior and 10% with attendance, making sure your students are there for the day, and if not, following up at home and making sure that they're supported, if that means getting them their homework, etc. And we will jump in again with video 3.